Welcome to the Answer is Yes podcast, where we interview some of the most interesting people that have said yes to opportunities in their life. We hope that through these stories, you can learn to create your own destiny by saying yes along the way. Join us as we explore the new series covering topics such as passion, integrity, and hard work. I'm your host, Jim Riley, and I hope you enjoy these interviews as much as I do. I believe that everyone has an important message worth hearing. Hello and welcome to the Answer Yes podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We are on a roll these days. I've had so many great guests on the show, a lot of authors recently. I've got a stack of books to catch up on. I'm looking across the room. I think I have 12 books that I've got to catch up on. There's not enough hours in the day for great reading material. And what I love about books, especially when I've got them on my show, is that I consider if I can get one small tidbit out of a book, I've succeeded on that book or that read or that opportunity, because there's so much value across the board, whether it's a book, a podcast, an interview, etc. Always fill your mind with new materials. I have from Naples, Florida on the line, Shawn and Lacey. Good morning, afternoon. I guess it's afternoon now down there. How are you?
It's afternoon. We're doing great. Good to be here.
I love your smiling faces and your willingness to be on the show. Thank you very much. As you are aware, this is about saying yes to opportunities in life. Only a few times I've had some couples on, but those are typically my best shows, to kind of see the interaction between the two of you and who gets to speak first. So let me just throw it at you. How about telling us a little bit of your background and, how things started for you in your careers? Flip a coin.
First of all, we're both chiropractors by profession.
Yep.
But neither of us practice. But we are very passionate about the profession, about the practice of chiropractic. We own a chiropractic franchise, and we're very into the holistic part of health. But we also our main source of income, or our main job, our main function on a day-to-day basis is we help service providers fall in love with the idea of being an entrepreneur so that they can reach more people, make a bigger impact, and create the lifestyle that they deserve. Mm-hmm. And we've learned all of this through tons of mistakes. I think that anybody that comes on a podcast, interviews, talks about anything where they're sharing advice or educational material, most of, if not all of that, is earned through the school of hard knocks. A lot of people call it the dummy tax, just making mistakes and being able to share that. And what that does is it cuts down the learning curve for other people. And that's the value in a podcast like this. How many times have we been in a situation where we're faced with an opportunity knocks, then we enter into the mindset of overanalyzing, trying to figure it out, asking advice from people that probably don't know or don't have our best interests in mind, making poor choices. And then, hey, we learned the dummy tax too. Mm-hmm. So that's basically what we do, what we're about. Our journeys are very different, myself and Lacey, and it has an awful lot to do with mindset. It has to do with the way that we view the world before we came together. And then from there, being able to come together. We always talk about, a lot of times when you have a couple, it's really two people doing the work of one. And what the goal here is to come together and be two people doing the work of four. But what that requires is sort of the melding of mindsets and worldviews so that we're able to advance together as a unit.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's your turn.
I know. We definitely grew up and in different worlds. I actually was born and raised in Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. And everybody was like, oh, that's so crazy, because it's a completely different world. It's a interesting place to grow up. I grew up around the corner from Netflix and Apple and Google and all of that fun stuff. But I did grow up in a family that didn't have a lot of money. And so my worldview on money and abundance and being able to earn was very different than Shawn growing up. And so that was a really interesting thing, because this is all about saying yes to opportunity. I said to a lot of things in my life. I mean, I jumped out of airplanes. I was an adrenaline junkie. There wasn't a lot I said no to, but when it came to business and being an entrepreneur, because of my mentality and my lack mindset, sometimes it was difficult for me to jump in and say yes. And so that was something that he was really good at. He was amazing at. He always said, we can figure this out. We're just going to go for it. We're going to say yes to this. And I was always the one that was like, but how? And actually I had to exercise that muscle. And over the course of time and us being together, I've really learned to exercise the muscle of yes and utilize it to a greater ability.
Lacey, I think that's such a great point. We can talk about this because so many people excel in one area. Like you said, you're kind of an adrenaline junkie, jumping out of planes and all those things. And you're quick to do that without much forethought. But then when it comes to business, all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, you put on the brakes.
Yep.
What is it about business that changes our mentality, the way we normally do things in life?
Yeah. And, I don't know that it's business itself. I think it's the stories and limitations that you've experienced in your life when you were growing up. So many people that we work with, when we're talking to them about what's possible, what they can do, putting themselves out there, they have a story that they tell themselves. And it's this literal story that's been so deeply embedded in them because that's what they were taught. I grew up in a household with a one family income. My mother worked a 9-to-5 job. And it was like, you work 9 to 5, you collect a paycheck, and that's the capacity and amount of money that you have on a month-to-month basis to spend. So for me, I didn't understand that when you can say yes to an opportunity and things are available to you in your life, that it's not just this 1-to-1 ratio, that it's actually more expansive and bigger than that, right? And so I think that's the thing. It's not the business, it's the story that lives inside of you through your experience, because you don't know what you don't yet know. And if you haven't experienced anything else different, it's actually far easier to say no or talk yourself out of it, right? And that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I interviewed Shelley Lefko, she talks a lot about our beliefs, right? And our limiting beliefs of the way that we were raised and told what we could do, right? Whether that's perform as an entrepreneur, as an athlete, but we develop these limiting beliefs, which is creating exactly what you talk about a little bit when it comes to other things, right? How did you overcome that? How did you get past that? Was it the confidence of Shawn to walk you through it, or this something you had to walk down a path alone?
I definitely didn't walk alone, but there was parts of the path that required me to do it myself. And so I was really blessed because Shawn always had this attitude of kind of like, hey, like if we need the money, we're going to figure out how to make it. We'll be able to, he's always believed that you could attract wealth and abundance into your life. I always thought that you had to earn your way to it. And then I evolved and figured out, I can save my way to it. And then I evolved again and figured out, you can attract your way into it. And so for me, I had the support of him and his ability to help hold me accountable when I fell back into that disbelief. But I had to go on a journey of really breaking that negative subconscious conversation that was cyclical. It would continue to come up and bubble up and say, you can't do that. If you say yes to that, you're not going to have money for the next thing. If you say yes to that opportunity, you're going to exclude something else that you're already doing well. And so I read a lot of books, especially when it came to money, because that was my big lack mentality. I read tons of books on money. And what I did, I got to tell you, Jim, a lot of people say, wake up, and say your affirmations in the morning. Well, that's great for the morning. But then when noon comes around, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, that little voice inside of you that's been telling you the story since you were little, it speaks very loudly. So I literally would do everything I can to disrupt that conversation. I set alarms. I had notes all around. So then I reminded myself, you can say yes, you are more than capable. The possibility is out there and you're going to attract opportunity, abundance, and wealth and the right people into your life. And that's how I broke it. So
in my mind, and you guys are living a parallel life of my wife and I, same. I'm like Shawn. My wife Samantha's like you, Lacey. She'll turn a penny into $1. I don't know how, but she does. But when I look at your story and our lives as it relates to money and having confidence, like Shawn, I believe we attract, right? there's two components, your personal life and your business life. Were you able to attract in both segments of your life, or did one outweigh the other? In other words, were you willing to accept that, hey, we can be successful in business, but I'm still not going to spend my money or not do this in my personal life because of that fear, or did it all come together at once?
I think it all came together at once, but we also held the philosophy and belief that we should feed the business. So even as our business was growing, we practice delayed gratification. That's a topic that I think is super important, especially when you're in business, especially if you are a visionary and you believe that you can you start attracting abundance into your life. It's real easy to just sort of pour that abundance right back into vehicles or cars or luxury items. And then you don't have the seed money again to reinvest into your business. So as our business grew, we really did a good job of maintaining our lifestyle. We did not buy houses. We did not buy cars. And people that looked at us through that process, they remember when I drove a Honda Accord hybrid. It was a god awful color. It was kind of like this gold, silver, weird looking color. But we didn't accelerate our lifestyle to match the abundance that was flowing in. And what that allowed us to do was to really pay attention and grow our business. And then it came a point where because of that concept of abundance, there was just so much overflow coming off of the business that it did afford us the lifestyle that we have today. But I think that delayed gratification is really important because we also get a lot of influence from the outside world that we need to buy things, or you need to start doing this, or you need a new car. But if you have a big vision for helping people and making an impact in the world, you need to feed the vision. And after you've fed the vision, then your personal life will come together.
What's crazy about that is people don't remember or look at all those years of sacrifice, right? They look at you today and say, well, he has this, this, and this. They completely forgot about all the backstory and all the years of driving that Honda Accord, which, by the way, is a pretty good car. It lasts a long time.
Very good. You can put a lot of miles on that baby.
Yeah. I was the vice president of Kettle One Vodka for 10 years. I did all of our marketing nationwide, and everybody thought, oh, you guys are this instant success, this and that. And it's like, well, there was 15 years of this company growing. The owner literally hitting the streets, wearing out the soles of his shoes down there in Naples, Florida, and other places to get where he was at that point. And I think it's such a wonderful message to talk about having that discipline, right, to put off that instant gratification. And we all suffer from it, because it feels good to buy something and have a reward. But at the same time, I think, Shawn, you'll agree with me, it feels much better to bank it, build your business, and then realize, okay, I better spend a little bit of this because it's overflowing now, because that's exactly what happens.
100%.
I was going to say, I'm just reminded of the very first time that we went all in and said yes to an opportunity. And I got to share it because it was a very pivotal moment in our life and in our business. Very early on, I think it was around 2011. We were broke. We were living in a 625 square foot apartment with 2 kids. And they were sleeping on the couch because we could not at that time afford a bed. And so we were really, we were, in my mind, we were struggling. In his mind, we were just on the edge of attracting everything into our life. Right. So again, different worldviews, but he came to me and he said, I have an opportunity, and that opportunity is to be able to coach with Michael Port. Now, Michael Port wrote the book, Yourself Solid. It's a great book for anybody that's an entrepreneur out there. And Shawn had taught at a school for many years out of that book. And he said, I can become a certified coach. Well, at that time, we couldn't even afford a bed, let alone to pay somebody like Michael Port to go through this program. And he's like, we have to do this. This is that moment that I know if we invest in this, if we can figure it out, it's going to change the trajectory of our business. And at that time, I was really working on that lack mindset, but we said yes. And we scraped and we pinched, and we talk about delayed gratification. Every penny that we had extra went to be able to pay for this coaching program. And that literally was one of the very pivotal moments that accelerated our business to the next level, is just being able to say yes, even though I wasn't sure how we were going to figure out how to pay for that. We just had to say yes.